The state of Minnesota could potentially become a right-to-work pending approval from the House and Senate.
And Minnesota residents might have to present a photo ID in the near future before casting their ballot. Hello and welcome to News 24. I'm Meredith Olson.
And I'm Becky Courier. There's a piece of legislation being discussed that could turn Minnesota into a right-to-work state. Stephen Ryberg joins us in the studio with more.
Thanks, Becky. The proposed right-to-work bill, or the Freedom to Work bill as it's now called, is being discussed in both the House and Senate. It'll give workers more freedom when it comes to unions, but there are also some people that feel it could bring more harm to unions than good. This was the scene in Wisconsin 1 year ago, when the state's legislature and governor took away collective bargaining rights. And now some Minnesotans fear it will happen here.
It's exactly what happened to Wisconsin a year ago.
The bill that has people talking is the Freedom to Work bill. The bill would give Minnesotans the ability to choose whether or not they join a union and whether or not they pay union dues.
Gives the Minnesotans really what I think I would refer to as our First Amendment freedom, the freedom of association in the labor marketplace.
Representative Steve Drazkowski is one of 18 co-authors of the bill. He says recent polls show 73% of people support the bill. The poll also says 69% of union members support it too. Sheila Rinn is the president of Winona State's AFSCME union and believes this bill could harm unions.
The biggest issue is that it would take away our rights to collective bargain. We would not be able to negotiate with the employer at all.
Drazkowski argues the bill does the exact opposite.
What this proposal does not do is it doesn't do anything to unions. It doesn't do anything to the ability for unions to collective bargain.
State Senator Jeremy Miller is opposed to the bill. He simply says the bill isn't an appropriate approach for the issue.
I would like to bring union leaders, union members, business leaders, legislators to the table and see if we can address those problems if they are indeed there.
Right now, there are 23 right-to-work states in the country, and Drazkowski says they all still have functioning unions. Now, if the Freedom to Work bill ends up passing out of the House and Senate, it'll show up on the November general election ballot. Back to you, Becky.
Thanks, Stephen. Another bill being discussed is a proposed voter ID law. The bill would require voters to present a photo ID before casting their ballot. The League of Women Voters held a panel discussion on the Winona State campus. The panel says the bill would affect older people as well as the homeless. They say these groups might have trouble getting a photo ID. Debbie White was a panelist and says the bill could take away people's rights.
So those are the issues that are creating it harder, more time involved, people leaving their places of work, or they have children to watch to go vote. Again, I always say it's a constitutional right to vote, and we want to make that easy, we want to make that safe, for everybody, and get all populations to vote.
Wisconsin just passed a similar voter ID law that was put to work last week. They allowed people to vote even if they didn't have a photo ID, but they had to present an ID within a few days of the election for the vote to count.
A new Minnesota legislative district map was recently introduced, pitting 46 incumbents against each other and creating 23 open seats. The House gets 6 districts with 2 incumbent Republicans, 6 with 2 incumbent Democrats, plus 3 Democrat versus Republican pairings.
Former Republican presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann says she'll run for re-election in her old Minnesota congressional districts, even though a state judicial panel redrew the map to put her home in a Democratic incumbent district. Bachmann says she plans to run again in the 6th district, which she currently represents, instead of the new 4th district where her home is currently located. A new biking rule has been recently introduced for bikers in downtown Winona. The Winona City Council passed an ordinance banning any bicycle riding on city sidewalks in the business district of Winona. Another change made is that bikers are no longer required to register their bicycles with the city. MnDOT is also looking to make changes to state biking regulations in the coming months. 10 businesses set up their booths at Winona Mall for the job fair. We sent Larissa Olson to find the best tips for success in landing a job.
The Winona Job Fair hosted 4 employment companies and 6 businesses that are ready to hire. In order to succeed in looking for a job, there are certain tips that can put a future employee ahead of the competition. Business consultant of Express Employment Professionals, Jamie Hansen, says dressing the part is just one of them.
You know, we're at a job fair today. Don't come to the job fair in dirty clothes. Don't come to the job fair in raggy jeans. It's a job fair. You're going to be filling out applications, so it's a job interview.
But looking the part is not the only trick. Area Manager for Manpower, Christy Bronk, says being able to market yourself is a huge plus when looking for a job.
Be empathetic towards people. Have a good enthusiasm when you're applying for jobs. Build up this brand that people know who know you, and when you're applying for jobs, live that out.
Bronk also says sending a thank you note after your interview is a very effective gesture that has always stood out to her.
Thank you notes, I cannot stress enough. People don't do them, and when they do, definitely stand out to that employer.
Account coordinator from ABR Employments, Jesse Seaver, says not giving up and keeping a positive attitude will always get you ahead in the job hunt.
I work very close with a recruiter with one of our biggest clients. She had to apply for her position 8 times before she was actually selected for the position.
And remember, everywhere you go, there's employers. If you're grocery shopping, there could be an employer there. So be personable, be sharp, and be friendly.
In Winona, Larissa Olson, News 24.
Websites like Monster, Career Builders, and Craigslist post job openings, but Bronx says job seekers should always go into the places hiring.
The Minnesota Vikings Vice President Lester Bagley says negotiations for a new Viking stadium are ongoing and are focused on putting the new stadium on the current Metrodome site. Bagley says the complicated negotiations are going on between the Vikings, the state, and the city of Minneapolis. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings say the organization has reached a tentative deal with the University of Minnesota on how much the team will pay to use TCF while the Vikings Stadium is being built. Vikings officials declined to name a dollar amount, but according to Star Tribune, the Vikings paid $1.7 million a game at TCF Stadium after the roof collapsed in December 2010.
The 19th annual Grumpy Old Men Festival brought together friends, family, and the community. Wabasha is coined the home of the grumpy old men since the movie with the matching title was based on the town. The festival celebrates not only the movie, but also winter activities. The popular activities included a softball tournament, ice fishing, a pet pageant, live music, and the annual Grumpy Plunge. Executive Director of Wabasha Kellogg Chamber of Commerce, Veronica Hemmingson, says the festival is open to all ages.
But it's the multi-generational. You see the little, grandson ice fishing with his grandpa, and then you go to the VFW and you have the old ladies playing cribbage. But then you have, our age kids, the 20s and stuff like that, just kind of roaming around doing the Grumpy Plunge and just loving the small towns.
Hemmingson says it's surprising how many people want to visit a small town. The proceeds from the Grumpy Plunge will help the Great River Home Inc. and the Rotary Club of Wabasha.
The WSU Nepali Club put on the 7th annual Nepal Fusion Dinner this weekend. The night featured music, dancing, and a traditional Nepali meal. The event is something the Nepali Club prepares for all year. Shailen Ranchadkar, president of the Nepali Club, was excited to share his country with the Winona community.
Yeah, it's an event we try to share our culture and cuisine with the WSU community, and it's going on till it's been 7 years. It's the 7th successive year, which is a great achievement for Nepali Club, And yeah, we're glad we can do this, and everybody this is kind of one of the anticipated event in WSU.
More than 30 international students came together to put on the annual event. And a WSU student is putting a new spin on log rolling. Sam Slagle is in the studio and has the story.
Thanks, Meredith. Composite engineering student Austin Erdenberger got the chance to create a new kind of log for the sport of log rolling. The idea came from a log rolling family in La Crosse who were looking for a lighter, easier to carry log. The synthetic log would have to resemble a competition log, which usually weighs in at nearly 400 pounds.
The log they usually use is just a wooden log made out of western red cedar, which is found in the west of the United States and southern Canada, but the log that we just built it out of fiberglass, and then we just had a foam core inside of it that gave it its mass moment of inertia and buoyancy. So you can see the
Erdenberger and WSU grad Calvin Skeen began the project last March. Erdenberger presented the new synthetic log process Thursday at WSU to fellow students, professors, and engineering professionals. While the project was complex, the biggest struggle did not have to do with equations or science.
Our biggest problem was just having a place to work, really. I mean, we were able to order material offline from wherever, but just having a manufacturing place was our hardest problem, which we ended up using my garage all summer, which probably wasn't up to code, but close enough.
They are currently in the patent application process and hope to either sell the patent or develop the idea themselves.
Thanks, Sam. Have you ever seen log rolling?
I never even heard of synthetic logs, so no, I've never seen actual log rolling.
Oh. Well, we saw it at the Minnesota State Fair once, and it was interesting.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. For the latest on Winona News, like us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/WSU News 24.
Have a wonderful week.